Hello, my name is Ida Cologne, and my presentation is Catholic Involvement in the American Revolutionary War and their impact on America's winning its independence. I start off my presentation with providing historical background on the early beginnings of the anti-Catholic sentiment. In order to understand why Catholics entered the American Revolutionary War, one must look at what they endured prior to the war and the anti-Catholic sentiment that existed in colonial America and where it began. I also go on to show how the arrival of Protestantism also brought the anti-Catholic sentiment to colonial America. I provide the creation of anti-Catholic laws in the New World in 17th and the 18th century to the American Revolutionary War. And this is important because some of the laws that were created were banning Catholics from bearing arms, from serving in the military, from voting, from holding public office, from even their settlements altogether. And it's important to note that Catholics represented only less than 2% of the colony's total population, and yet the Catholic presence in the New World was always perceived as the greatest threat to the colony's security. The next slides will demonstrate and provide background on American Catholics' role in the Revolutionary War. It will also provide the roles of some of the important American Catholics who migrated here largely from Ireland and were involved in the Revolutionary War, and their impact and service during that time. I also give, there are also slides on the Catholic France involvement in the American Revolutionary War and their impact on the outcome of the Revolutionary War as well. The French provided not only financial assistance, but they also provided arms and military soldier power to the cause. And it's important to note that Catholic France provided over 6,000 military soldiers to George Washington under the leadership of Rochambeau. But it was the Marquis of Lafayette who led 3,000 soldiers and defeated the British in Yorktown. He set up his strategy. Set up Cornwallis and pretty much trapped them. And upon arriving, George Washington and Cornwallis, it was the final nail in the coffin, but it was the strategy that Lafayette created that solidified that victory. I also provide the results of the Revolutionary War for the French and what the involvement of France's alliance mean to the Revolutionary War and to America and its declaration of independence, and it's declaring its independence and it being accepted by power of Europe, by one of the powers in Europe. I give some background on some of the soldiers, French soldiers, two of the French soldiers, and also provide information on the Catholic Eastern Indians in the American Revolutionary War and the impact that they had on the war as well. Catholic Indians provided warriors to George Washington from the Maine and Nova Scotia, the St. John's, the Mimacs, the Pentecost, and the Passamaquoddy tribes all provided aid to the American Revolution. Interesting to note was one of the things that I read that I didn't know that Indians participated in the American Revolution as allies. So this find was interesting, but I read one of the letters to Congress where with two chief heads, Ambrose and Pierre Thomas, upon hearing of the war from the Penobscots tribe, their letter, we heartily join with our brethren, the Pentecost Indians, in everything that they have or shall agree with our brethren of the colony of Massachusetts, and are resolved to stand together and oppose the people of Old England that are endeavoring to take yours and our land and liberties from us. We are brethren of one Father and one God made us all, and we shall stand by you as long as the Almighty will give us strength, and we hope you will do the same for us. This I find interesting because at the same time that Congress was seeking the aid of Catholic Indians, they went behind their backs to the Mohawks and the Oneidas, seeking their aid and using the threat of their children worshiping images instead of one true God as the reason why they should join the American Revolution. And I provide some consequences that resulted from joining the American Revolution for France and Canada. France, prior to joining the alliance, the soldiers that joined the revolution faced being arrested, and Canada Catholics were excommunicated and denied the sacraments, even at death. From Papist enemy to patriot friend, Catholics changed the perspective. I show here in this slide how historians would agree, how religious historians would agree that the American Revolutionary War marked a turning point for Catholics and other dissenters in America. It did change the tide because they did eliminate some laws and eliminate the establishment of state churches. It also weakened the anti-Catholic sentiment. American involvement in the Revolutionary War showed the loyalty that Catholics had to the patriotic cause. I also provide article clippings from the New Hampshire Gazette from September 22nd, where it announced the ship, the Meredith, captained by Marquis de Lafayette, arriving at Newport. And it reports that the British fleet was defeated off Chesapeake and had returned to New York, damaged with 1,500 men. This is important because prior to the American Revolution, the anti-Catholic propaganda in newspapers and magazines was seen regularly. So to see positive news on a military French who were seen as being enemies and foes, to displaying to showing and promoting the victories from the French had for the Americans. And then there's the encyclical of Pope Leo on Catholicism in the United States, where he states that America with the aid of Catholics, had achieved liberty and independence. And this is true. America had obtained its liberty and independence because the French and the Irish and Catholics, Catholic Indian, Catholic Canadians joined the cause, as well as the Spanish joined the cause for the war. George Washington acknowledged this in his letter to the Catholics, where he states how the Catholics impacted the war, and that the freedoms were owed to that involvement. I hope you enjoy the reading the presentation and this video.